Then she showed up at my office. 3 days later, security called me. There's a woman in the lobby saying she's your mother-in-law. Of course she was. I went down and found her dressed like she was attending a charity gala instead of confronting the man who exposed her lifelong deception. "We need to talk," she said. "I don't think that's a good idea. I'll make it worth your while." I laughed. "Are you trying to bribe me now?" "Everyone has a price," she said. "Name yours." I smiled. "Okay, a time machine. Go back 35 years and don't be a terrible person." Her face turned red. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I'm dealing with a woman who cheated on her husband, lied about her child's paternity for decades, and tried to buy my divorce." She stepped closer. "I will destroy you." "Cool," I said. "This conversation is being recorded by the building cameras. Please leave before security escorts you out." She stormed off, throwing one last threat over her shoulder. This isn't over. She was right. It was just getting started. By week 2, the gloves were off. My wife didn't come quietly. I was served with papers requesting a restraining order. According to her filing, I was emotionally abusive, controlling, and someone she feared for her safety. My lawyer was furious. "This is standard," she said. "When someone loses leverage, they claim abuse." She asked if I had witnesses. I had plenty. Friends, co-workers, even her own sister, who was disgusted by how this had all unfolded. The hearing was short. My wife showed up looking fragile, speaking softly about how intimidated she'd always felt. Then my lawyer presented evidence. Normal text messages, vacation photos, witness statements, and finally, the recording of the $1 million divorce offer. The judge didn't hesitate. "This appears to be an attempt to gain leverage in divorce proceedings," he said from the bench. "Restraining order denied." My wife looked furious. But she wasn't my biggest problem anymore. I waited for my wife to shut her down, to defend our marriage, to say no. Instead, she said quietly, "Mom, that's a lot to think about." "What's there to think about?" her mother snapped. "He makes 90-something a year. I'm offering you more than 10 years of his salary to walk away. You'd be stupid not to." Silence. Then my wife said clearly, "I'll take it." Her mother laughed. "Finally, I knew you'd come to your senses." That's when I walked in. "Hey, honey," I said calmly. Mom." I always called her Mom, just to irritate her. Both of them turned white. My wife started stammering. "That wasn't, you didn't, we were just talking hypothetically." "Hypothetically divorcing me for $1 million?" I said. "Interesting." My mother-in-law recovered fast, sat up straighter. "Yes, I offered her the money. She accepted. At least now you know where you stand." I looked at my wife. "Is that true?" She finally met my eyes. There was something cold there, defiant. "Maybe it is. Maybe my mom's right. Maybe I've been settling." That word, settling, hit harder than anything else. 5 years of my life. And I was something she'd settled for. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just nodded. "Okay," I said. "If that's your decision, I respect it." That surprised them. Then I went to the bedroom, opened my nightstand, and pulled out a manila envelope. When I came back, I said, "Before you finalize anything, I think your father deserves to see this." I handed the envelope to my wife. Inside were DNA test results and a letter. 8 months earlier, my father-in-law had asked me for help. He was updating his will and wanted genetic health info for future descendants because of a heart disease history. I helped him order a DNA test. When the results came back, he panicked. He wasn't my wife's biological father. He called me devastated. I told him we'd double-check, maybe an error. Quietly, I started digging. What I found was worse. Around the time my wife was conceived, my mother-in-law had a months-long affair with her tennis instructor. The timeline matched perfectly. I sat on that information for 8 months. I didn't want to destroy a family. But now my wife had agreed to sell our marriage. Now her mother was sitting smugly in my living room. It was time. My wife read the letter. Her face collapsed. "What is this?" she whispered. DNA results, I said, and evidence of who your biological father likely is. Ask your mom about her tennis instructor 31 years ago. My mother-in-law grabbed the papers, turned pale. This is fake. It's not, I said. Your husband took the test himself. She stood up. You wouldn't dare tell him. I already did, I replied. I emailed him 2 minutes ago. Right then we heard a car pull up. The front door slammed open. My father-in-law walked in, shaking, phone in hand. Is it true? He demanded. Is it true? What followed was the total collapse of a family. 1 week later update. The confrontation lasted 2 hours. Denial, crying, blame shifting. But DNA doesn't lie, and my father-in-law doesn't fall for emotional manipulation. Then my mother-in-law made a fatal mistake. So what if I had an affair? She snapped. You were never around. He paid attention to me. He froze. You just admitted it. He looked at me. You recorded this, didn't you? I held up my phone. He walked out without saying a word. Later, my wife turned on me. You destroyed my family. You agreed to divorce me for money, I said. I just told the truth. I was never going to take it. I heard you say you would. That night, I asked for a divorce. She was shocked, furious, entitled. I was supposed to divorce you. I slept better that night than I had in months. 3 weeks later, things get ugly. My wife tried filing a restraining order claiming abuse. Failed. The judge literally said it was an attempt to gain leverage. Meanwhile, my father-in-law's lawyer uncovered hidden accounts, financial skimming, and eventually blackmail. Turns out my mother-in-law had been extorting the tennis instructor for 15 years. That destroyed her case. 6 weeks later, both divorces are finalized. My father-in-law won heavily. Fraud, hidden assets, paternity deception. The judge ruled in his favor. We have lunch once a month now. He told me, you gave me the hardest gift. The truth. My ex-wife got minimal spousal support. 6 months. Reduced. The $1 million? Never existed. It was always a lie. Me? I'm okay. The apartment is quieter. Peaceful. I don't regret exposing the truth. The lies were already destroying lives. I just stopped them from continuing. That wasn't revenge. That was reality catching up. That night in the living room didn't just end my marriage. It detonated an entire family. The confrontation went on for nearly 2 hours. My father-in-law demanded answers. My mother-in-law tried everything. Denial, crying, deflection, accusing me of fabricating evidence. At one point, she even claimed the DNA test was rigged. But DNA doesn't lie. And my father-in-law didn't build an 8-figure empire by falling for emotional manipulation. 35 years, he kept repeating. 35 years, and I thought she was mine. My wife tried stepping in. Dad, can we calm down and talk about this rationally? He turned on her instantly. You were ready to take $1 million to divorce your husband. Your mother lied to me for decades. And you want rational? That's when my mother-in-law made the worst mistake of her life. She went on the offensive. So what if I had an affair? She snapped. You were always working. You neglected me. He paid attention to me. Silence. My father-in-law stared at her. So you're admitting it. She realized too late what she'd done. That's not what I meant. You just admitted it, he said. In front of witnesses. He turned to me. You recorded this, didn't you? I raised my phone. I'm not stupid. He didn't say another word. Just walked out the door. No goodbye. No explanation. Gone. The fallout. The moment the door closed, my wife turned on me. How could you do this? She screamed. You destroyed my family. I stayed calm. Your mother tried to buy our divorce. You agreed. She lied to your father for 35 years. I didn't destroy anything. I told the truth. I was never actually going to take the money. She shot back. I heard you say, I'll take it. She tried backtracking. I was just exploring options. Good, I said. Now I am too. That's when I told her I wanted a divorce. She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. What? No, you can't divorce me. I was supposed to divorce you. The entitlement was unreal. I'll have my lawyer contact yours, I said. You should probably stay with your mom tonight. What's left of that arrangement? That was the first time she cried. Not sad tears. Angry ones. This isn't how this was supposed to go. I slept alone that night, and for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. Damage control mode. The next few days were chaos. My father-in-law filed for divorce. 35 years over. Apparently, he'd had doubts for years but never proof. Now he had it. My mother-in-law tried to contest everything, claiming the DNA test was illegally obtained. Her lawyer shut that down fast. The test was voluntary. The results were his. And the truth was unavoidable. Meanwhile, my wife started cycling through every tactic imaginable. Anger. You ruined everything. Sadness. Please, can we talk? Manipulation. Don't you remember how good we were? Threats. I'll tell people you were abusive. That last message? That's when I hired a lawyer and stopped responding. Then she showed up at my office. 3 days later, security called me. There's a woman in the lobby saying she's your mother-in-law. Of course she was. I went down and found her dressed like she was attending a charity gala instead of confronting the man who exposed her lifelong deception. We need to talk, she said. I don't think that's a good idea. I'll make it worth your while. I laughed. Are you trying to bribe me now? Everyone has a price, she said. Name yours. I smiled. Okay, a time machine. Go back 35 years and don't be a terrible person. Her face turned red. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm dealing with a woman who cheated on her husband, lied about her child's paternity for decades, and tried to buy my divorce. She stepped closer. I will destroy you. Cool, I said. This conversation is being recorded by the building cameras. Please leave before security escorts you out. She stormed off, throwing one last threat over her shoulder. This isn't over. She was right. It was just getting started. By week 2, the gloves were off. My wife didn't come quietly. I was served with papers requesting a restraining order. According to her filing, I was emotionally abusive, controlling, and someone she feared for her safety. My lawyer was furious. This is standard, she said. When someone loses leverage, they claim abuse. She asked if I had witnesses. I had plenty. Friends, co-workers, even her own sister, who was disgusted by how this had all unfolded. The hearing was short. My wife showed up looking fragile, speaking softly about how intimidated she'd always felt. Then my lawyer presented evidence. Normal text messages, vacation photos, witness statements, and finally, the recording of the $1 million divorce offer. The judge didn't hesitate. This appears to be an attempt to gain leverage in divorce proceedings, he said from the bench. Restraining order denied. My wife looked furious. But she wasn't my biggest problem anymore. The other divorce. My father-in-law's divorce from my mother-in-law turned brutal. 35 years of marriage. Massive assets. And now paternity fraud. His lawyer argued the marriage itself was built on deception. In some states, that matters. A lot. My mother-in-law went nuclear. She told anyone who would listen that her husband was cold, neglectful, and abandoning his family over ancient history. She left out the cheating, the lies, the bribery, the blackmail. Yes, blackmail. Her hidden financial accounts raised red flags. Subpoenas followed. And then the biggest bomb dropped. The tennis instructor was found. 70s now. Retired. Living quietly. Under deposition, he confirmed the affair. Confirmed the timeline. Then he revealed something no one expected. 15 years earlier, my mother-in-law had contacted him, asking for money to stay quiet. Over time, she'd extracted around $30,000. That nest egg she'd been secretly building? Part of it came from blackmail. That destroyed what little credibility she had left. My ex hits bottom. Meanwhile, the $1 million promise evaporated. Once the divorces began, my mother-in-law's finances froze. My ex suddenly realized the lifestyle she depended on was gone. She showed up at the apartment one evening. tear-streaked, apologetic. "I made a mistake," she said. "I shouldn't have listened to my mom." "You agreed to sell our marriage," I replied. "I didn't mean it. I was confused." "No," I said. "You just didn't expect consequences. I have nowhere to go. You have your mom, your dad, friends, anywhere but here." She got angry. "I'll tell people you forced me out." "Go ahead," I said calmly. "I have recordings, witnesses, a paper trail." She left after throwing a vase at the wall. I documented everything. Judgment Day. 6 weeks later, both divorces were finalized. My father-in-law won heavily. Fraud, hidden assets, blackmail, paternity deception. The judge ruled decisively. My mother-in-law still received a settlement, but far less than she expected. Around 30% of what she would have gotten in a normal divorce. She moved from a mansion into a condo. Her social circle quietly disappeared. Turns out wealthy people don't like being associated with public scandals. She left me one voicemail. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed a family." I saved it. Where everyone ended up. My ex and I divorced cleanly. No kids. Short marriage. Clear evidence of bad faith. The judge granted minimal spousal support. 6 months at a reduced amount. She's living with a friend now. Her design business hasn't taken off. Last I heard, she's considering going back to school. She still blames me. In her version of events, I'm the villain. Some people never look in the mirror. And me, I'm okay. The apartment is quieter, bigger, peaceful. I kept most of the furniture, rearranged things, made it mine. My father-in-law and I have lunch once a month now. He told me something I'll never forget. "You gave me the hardest gift, the truth. I hate it, but I needed it." He still loves my ex. Not biologically his daughter, but he raised her. 30 years doesn't disappear because of DNA. They're trying to rebuild something. As for my mother-in-law, she's still telling anyone who'll listen that she's the victim. No one's listening anymore. The $1 million, by the way, it never existed. She had maybe $200,000 hidden, most of which went to lawyers. The offer was always a lie, and my ex fell for it. Final thoughts. Do I regret exposing the truth? No. The pain was already there, just hidden. I ripped the bandage off. I feel bad for my father-in-law. I feel bad for myself, for wasting 5 years on someone who saw me as settling. But my ex and her mother made their choices. They valued money over people, lies over honesty. They thought there would be no consequences. They were wrong. That wasn't revenge. That was reality catching up.